And also our lock journey.
Oh, you know what?
So I was like,
I was
did you think the same
thinking
thing?
I love. Welcome back. Thriving Teen Tuesday. We're not TTTing, but you know we TTing all the time. Okay. Thriving is not just for Tuesdays; it's for every
day.
Period. Okay.
Yes.
We just, Tuesday was rhyming, but it's every day. We want you to thrive. Okay. So today's topic is what we talking about.
Today we're talking about moving in different paces.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna do something a little bit different this time. We're gonna kind of like use us,
Yes.
for example.
I feel like we use us for examples all the
All the
time.
time.
Yeah.
Right. But can we explain what we mean by
Yes.
moving in different places today?
Yes.
Yeah, go
Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna let you guys.
I love it. So moving at different paces is the topic, and you're wondering what does that mean. So in our previous video, we talked about comparing, and this is basically the synopsis of it. So we have a journey, as I mentioned in the previous video. We have a journey, but we all get there at different times. And so, like us three, we are very connected, but we are all in different journeys.
Yes.
And we have to just respect each other's journey, and then realize that sometimes you're parallel to people's journey doesn't mean that you need to insert yourself in their journey. You can remain in your own lane. So, working at different paces or spaces doesn't mean that your pace is good or bad.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So what spaces or phases are we in?
I mean, okay, I had two in my head.
Okay.
Okay, one is our relationship status.
Okay.
And also our lock journey.
Oh,
You know what?
So I was like,
I was
Did you think
thinking
the same thing?
I love it. I was thinking
I love
because
it.
that's like a real thing where it's a tangible thing where you can see,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead, explain. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I really want to dive into the lock journey.
Okay.
Right?
Yes,
Because
okay.
I'm looking at all of our locks and we're
Yes.
all in different phases in life. And one thing
Yes.
I told myself when I was doing my lock journey, or when I was starting my lock journey, I was like, each phase is a different phase in life. It's a different experience in
Yes.
life. So embrace everything.
Yo,
Right?
I love it.
So I've been in my lock journey for about 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, but I cut it because life happened.
That's okay.
But I wasn't trying to cut my whole head. But
That's
I cut
okay.
it short.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it was like 6 years for me. What about you?
Go to her first.
Okay.
Why me?
I'm the baby.
She's the baby. Yeah.
I'm also the youngest, so
Okay.
it works out.
We're not gonna address that, but why are you lying on camera?
I'm just.
So I've been locked now for 3.5
Really?
years almost. Yeah.
But you see how her journey, like she's like
Yeah,
walked
different.
me. Yeah,
Yes.
like I wouldn't have expected that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
But you comparison. You cut yours.
Yeah.
So if a person is looking at our hand and say, "Oh, she's almost
Hers is-
yes.
longer than," they don't know your backstory.
Exactly. So it's good to know the person's
Mhm.
history in order to.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have been locked for almost 2 years. August will be 2 years.
Aww.
And I can definitely tell you on the lock journey, there were many times. I'll be like, but my hair don't look like them. Why
Yep.
my hair look like
Yep.
this? And you know the worst part, whose hair I was looking at? And I'll be like, why my hair not like that?
Yep.
I like to see my scalp. And I would really have a complex about seeing my scalp, and people would be like, "Oh, it looks so beautiful," and I'm like, "No, because when you see on Instagram and etc.,
Yeah.
you see people's scalp and it looks clean
Yeah.
and neat, and then now you see you can't see my scalp.
Yeah.
Yo, I've embraced it. I'm
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
but it's literally like you look at people's journey,
Yeah.
and you're like. In fact, I think I may send it to you recently where like, when is my hair gonna get like this?
Right.
I can't wait to do these styles and things. But now I feel like I'm embracing it a little bit more, actually a lot more, and I'm loving it. Like I literally feel the freedom in it.
Yep.
I'm not saying you have to get locks. This is just an example.
Right.
But yeah, we are all on different journeys.
Yep.
And it's beautiful because I think it's beautiful. I don't know what y'all. We don't care if you don't like it, but it's beautiful. Okay.
One thing I'll say is because I was guilty of comparison my
Yes.
locks. And even though a lot of people kept saying, "Oh my gosh, Ivy, the thickness of your locks is beautiful.
Yes.
I love the size." I was like, "No, I want it fuller. I want more." So I went and did split 3 of my locks,
Okay.
and they started falling out.
Oh no.
So I had someone to reattach them. Now I'm like looking at my hair. I'm like, "Oh,
Why
why
did
did I do that?" You know
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say? Because I was comparing myself to other people I was seeing on social media,
Yes.
other people I'm around. Like, "Oh, theirs is full. Mine's not full enough." So I did a drastic thing to my hair. Now I'm regretting it. You know what I'm trying to say? And I feel like we do stuff like this in life. And we got to understand our journey, our situation is completely different from the next person,
This is
right?
true.
They have a certain size because it suits them, you know? So that's something that made me,
Think about.
yeah.
Perfect.
And I want to flip it a bit about how comparison, a positive version of it could be admiration.
Yes.
Because let's talk about your natural hair.
Yes.
When we both had natural hair, well, lots
Yes.
of us had natural hair and it wasn't
Yes.
long. And you had you still have very beautiful hair.
Mhm.
And I wanted Mabel's hair because you had the length, you had the depth, you had the
Fullness.
and I did not have, the amount of growth that I've experienced with locks is growth that I never saw when my hair was just in
Yes.
a freestyle. And Ivy, I've given you so many compliments in church.
Yes.
I've come up to you to say,
Literally.
how did you do that style?
Yes.
Can you send me the link? Even up to like products that you've used, right? And between the 3 of us, we've been able to sort of admire
Yes.
each other's
Mhm.
journey.
And help each other
Yeah.
along
Help
the way.
each other along the way. Sending links, we
Yep.
exchange stylist information,
Mhm.
product information, and without competing with each other
Yeah.
because
Yes.
your biology is different from mine, and
Correct.
my biology is also different. It's also different from yours. So there will be moments where somebody has something that you admire,
Yeah.
right? And I want to sort of segue into religion a little bit. I
Yes.
always tell you this, that the reason why I became so serious with God is just looking up to, we're cousins, but you're also very much my sister, right? We're blood. I just seeing how you were with God, somebody who was so serious with God, served, and me saying, that's somebody that I look up to, right?
Right.
I didn't want to just come to church because my relationship with God, and that's just a topic for another day, but I looked up to you. So that's not comparison like, oh, she serves God and that's admiration.
Yep.
She
Yes.
serves God in a way that challenges me to also want
Yep.
to pursue that
Mhm.
personal relationship with God. You are doing so much with the youth ministry, and I
Yes.
said to you that I want to step up too, right?
Yes.
So you can also take a step back if you feel the need to. So comparison has a flip side, that's admiration, and we must tap more into that positive side
Yeah.
of comparison.
I love it.
This is
Thank
actually
you,
crazy.
Lee.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
But I just really want to say it's actually crazy that we're talking about this because I was literally just
Yes.
talking to my friend before walking into this building, and they were expressing to me how they had a certain friend who they had a lot of similar features in, like they like the same fashion, they like the same A, B, and C, and they actually developed a drift between each other, like where they're not even talking anymore. And I'm like, why do people,
Yeah.
when if you see an attribute in somebody, why are you comparing, or why are you becoming a hater? Why are you being envious of these traits that this person has? Because they may look at you like, this person is good at A, B, and C. I respect what they do. So I really want to understand, why do people correlate negativity with, I guess I'm answering my own question, but it's like, why do people, hey, they have something I don't have, but why do we start hating on them? Or why do we?
I think sometimes, well, actually, a lot of times, is judgment because I feel like, but why do you have that? Because I could have it so much better. I could do so much better with it. And realistically, I don't have it for a reason. You know what I'm saying? But we don't look at it like that. We look at it as, well, why do they deserve to be in a relationship? I'm a good person.
Right.
But you're not in a relationship because there are things that God wants you to do that are different. And sometimes we're humans, right? So we just think about things in a different way than we really should think about things. But the thing is, recognizing that sometimes our thoughts are not always pure and our thoughts are not always good for us. We're the ones that came up with it.
Yeah.
But sometimes the seed was planted and we're just watering it. So stop watering that seed.
Yeah.
Let it just fade away and dry and wither and plant something new. Just saying.
Period. Yeah. Something else?
Yeah.
Yeah, and May, you would know this. We listened to a sermon by Stephanie Ike yesterday, and Stephanie said it's not the person, it's the spirit that is operating behind the person.
Yes.
Send me that sermon, please.
I will happily. Shout out to Stephanie.
Yes.
Right? We love your
Love
sermons.
it. Yes.
It's I may see something in you, and if I'm not careful, if I don't have that relationship with God where I discern and pray to God and say, God, bless me like you blessed her,
Yes.
I allow the enemy to turn that admiration into jealousy. In that moment, it really is not me.
Yes.
It's that little gateway that I allow the enemy to see, right? To turn that spirit of admiration into envy, into jealousy.
Yes.
Why does Mabel have this? Why don't I have this? Why does Ivy have this? Why don't I have it? And it takes really discernment to realize, or it takes having that personal relationship with God to realize that the one who blessed Mabel and Ivy is capable of blessing me too.
And
like you talked about relationship, perhaps you don't have it because God still needs to work something in you.
Something. Or maybe work something on your partner.
Yes, and if He gave it to you prematurely, you would not have the tools to properly even enjoy that blessing.
Yes.
There's a reason why a 3-year-old does not drive, because that 3-year-old would kill him or herself. You know, there's a reason why we don't allow people to vote at a certain age, because they don't have that maturity to make certain decisions, like putting a person in power for 4 years. Right. So again, it ties back to God, right? Who is the center and the end all, really, and be all. So we must recognize that there's a spirit that operates behind people and cut it off before it morphs into something bigger that we're not able to control.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that.
So I guess we're going to talk about relationships.
So, let's talk.
Let's say you are in your love life. Tell us.
It's not about me, it's about all of us. Okay. So we're gonna go around the room.
Okay.
Starting from who wants to go first?
What's the question? What's the question?
Yeah. Relationship with God and relationship and we're talking about relationship with Him. Let's talk about relationship and what's the relationship status.
This is not to compare, so don't compare yourself to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we know you're a
Relationship
dinosaur.
status, how long?
Relationship status. Okay, so I am happily married. There's a difference between married and happily. I am happily married.
Amen.
To my favorite person, Mr.
Noah.
Dennis. Okay, holding down the fort at home with the kids while I'm here doing the recording. So
Kiki.
you know,
We love it, Dennis.
Yes. So he's definitely my better half. So I am married. We've been married for actually June will be 13 years. I don't want to age myself by telling you how long we've actually been together, but it's been a minute. So yeah, that's basically where I am on my journey. Been together for quite a while, thriving, adapting. What I realize is, you know, in our relationships, we've literally evolved. Okay, let me date myself. We've been together for 23 years. So we've literally gone from teenagehood to all the other, I don't know all the stages, but all the other stages through together.
Right.
And it's been really nice doing life with somebody. But I've also looked at people around me, and even looking back, and I'm like, if things were different, would we still be in the same situation?
Right.
And a lot of times people be like, oh, I don't know, how do you know that this person is the one if you have never been, you know, committed to anybody else? And I'm like, well, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my journey, working on adapting, but currently very happy. You know, sometimes, you know, you get upset with a person, but that's part of life.
I understand, sister.
Yeah.
So my status, I'm currently in a relationship. I've been with my partner for about 5 years.
Okay.
I know, right? Long time. It's been a long time.
Yes.
We've known each other actually since high school.
Okay.
Hey, how long has it been since we got out of high school?
Oh, you're old, so we don't know.
None of y'all business, but we know each other since high school, and we rekindled after college, and now we're
Here we
together.
are.
Yep, we're together for 5 years. I'm praying for the next step. Actually, I know God is going to provide the next
There
step
you
for
go.
us, so I'm just waiting for that day.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Sister Mabel said, it's been a journey, and just understanding that you change when you're not with somebody and when you're with somebody, and also like just experiencing somebody is just different, you know. But I'm grateful for where I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're happy with you.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay. No need to share.
What do you
Don't do
mean?
that. Don't do that.
Oh, I am single.
Yes.
And I think it's important to share that I'm happily single.
Yes.
Trusting God's purpose and His plan for my life. I am one of those people that has utterly surrendered to the will of God for my life, and that includes every aspect of my life. He's a perfect matchmaker that is out there. So he's writing my love story.
I love that.
I'm looking forward
Love
to
that.
how that's going to pan out. So stay tuned. There might be an update very soon.
Okay. We're gonna get front row seats.
Yep.
But in saying that, right, we are all at very different stages, and you cannot compare yourself to Abby's singlehood or her relationship, in a relationship, or my marriage, because we are all, thankfully, by the grace of God, we are all happy in our statuses.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that there can be moments where we are unhappy. And so we may portray the happiness sometimes. However, there are times that we're unhappy that we may not be able to portray.
Yeah.
So just making sure that, yes, you can admire somebody loving their singleness.
Yes.
It doesn't mean the moments where you feel like you're alone and you want to cry are invalid.
Good one.
Or it means that maybe you're self-centered or whatever the feeling that comes to you. Or you think, oh, this person's marriage, they've been together for this long and I can't keep a man or whatever. It doesn't, I said to Abby, I believe a couple of weeks ago, whenever, maybe multiple times, where it's like, if somebody could give you your life picture and say, you can be in a relationship now, be unhappy, get divorced, and you be in a relationship unhappy till you're 40 and get divorced. Or they say to you, you can be single until you're 40, happy, get married and be happier. Which one would you pick? Nobody's gonna pick the miserable life.
No, right.
But when you're thinking about statuses, you think about comparison in which you feel like, okay, well, everybody's in a relationship, so I want to be in a relationship. But your goal should not be to be in something because everybody else is in something. Your goal is to have happiness, true purpose for yourself. So then that way, when you are in that something, you can know what happiness actually looks like. Because a lot of times we think we're happy, and then you go back and you evaluate and you're like, actually, no, you played me. Like you dangled the fruit in front of me and I came and I was like, ooh, and then later you just switched. But technically you didn't switch. That's who you were. But I didn't pay attention to who you were because I was so caught up in the glam of
relationship.
this is what I want. And here comes the devil feeding into what my desires are for his own agenda. So the comparison is very hard. Because I think it's easy to say don't compare. But
Let's be
truly, it is really hard.
It is really hard.
It is really hard because it affects so many aspects. It's like good and bad. And in even good aspects, you still shouldn't compare. So, I don't know. It's complicated, guys.
It is complicated.
We're here trying to help you, but we helping ourselves too.
No, honestly.
This is therapy. This is therapy.
No, honestly. Because I actually want to piggyback off of, I'm always piggybacking.
That's okay.
But I know how you're speaking.
It's called, levels to growth. Go ahead.
But I know how you're speaking in regards of like, okay, somebody being single and saying, okay, I wish I was, in a relationship with this person. But I actually have overheard people who are in relationships or even people who are married saying, girl, enjoy your singlehood because, hey,
I have said it.
I wish I was single to A, B, and C. I'm like, okay. So it's just like, just hearing different perspectives of each person's status is like, okay, honestly, and just embrace your journey. Literally embrace your journey.
I'll tell you something as you said that, right? When I was thinking, the whole time I've been sitting here, I keep texting my husband, are the children sleeping? They haven't texted nobody, okay? Well, she texts her man. But I've
been talking to God in my head.
She's been talking to God. But it wasn't like, I'm here, like, I'm present, but I'm also like, I'm not going to see my kids. They're asleep and stuff like that. So everybody has their different things that they're going through. And yes, we're all sitting here and all that, but our brains, we're talking to you, right? But our brains are all processing things differently. So I don't know. I just feel like, It's just different. We're
Yeah.
all different,
Yeah, that's
and it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to be different.
Yeah.
A question comes to mind, given that we're also at very different points in our journeys with God, our relationships with God. How does our relationships with God help us navigate our relationships with people, especially when it comes to points where we're tempted to compare?
That's a great
That's
question.
deep.
Yeah.
That's deep. Go ahead. You go first.
I can start. I
Okay,
can
go
start
ahead.
by saying, I know that we started in the beginning by talking about turn comparison into admiration, and we've also had videos where we put our grace and we extend that same grace to each other. I've compared, and comparison is what took me off of social media and has kept me off for the past 5-6 years, and the Lord is still working on me. I'm very much a work in progress. Because of my relationship with God, I trust His purpose for my life. And when you trust Him to be your provider, and you trust that He's placed people in your lives for a reason, and you trust that as He provided for them, He would provide for you.
Yes.
And He says to love your neighbor as yourself. You don't compare.
Yep.
Yes.
And when that feeling starts to creep up, you don't suppress it. You take it back to Him. It was Pastor, I won't mention his name, but it was a very famous pastor who said, God doesn't meet you where you pretend to be, but where you are. So we're not supposed to shy away from these feelings that we have because they're valid.
Yep.
We're supposed to take it to Him
Yep.
to help us navigate them. Right? So my best friend is married.
Yes.
She's about to have her third child. Most of my friends are married or in relationships. I'm about to be a bridesmaid in October, and I'm so excited about that. And out of that excitement, it allows me to tap into the blessing of the person who is married.
Yes.
And to say thank you, God, for her life, and thank you so much that I get to be part of the woman that she selected to celebrate such a beautiful moment with her, because we reap what we sow. And if I'm sowing a seed of comparison, I'm sowing discord, and I'm sowing envy, I'm gonna reap that.
Yep.
Once we start to understand that, an unbeliever will call it karma, but we as believers, we don't believe in karma and all those new age
Correct.
stuff. We do believe in what the Bible says, that what we sow is what we reap,
Yeah.
right? We start to watch the kind of energy that we put out there. So my relationship with God has helped me check myself. The feelings will come up. There'll be many moments where after I go to hang out with my friends who are booed up, I will come back and say, ooh, but why not me?
Yeah.
Am I not beautiful enough? I've been single for 4 whole years. I have clothes I want to wear out on dates. You guys know.
She got a lot of clothes.
I want to go on dates. I think that my attitude is great, but then I have to trust His purpose, for I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you, plans to give you a future and a hope. I'm not dead yet. There's still a future for me.
Yes.
So I take it to God in prayer. And that's how I navigate it. And every single day, I remind Him, not that He needs a reminder because He's all-knowing, but I just affirm my faith that I trust Him with my future.
Yeah.
I trust Him with my love life. I trust Him with my finances. I trust Him with my heart. I trust Him with everything. So that's how I do that. I do that by just remembering His promises and His word concerning my life.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, how I compare my relationship with God to others is I give myself grace, right? Same way the Lord and Savior gives us grace, I also give myself grace and extend grace to others around me, right? Especially in regards to me, like when I catch myself comparing, I'm like, be side-eyed and that hard side, I'm like, Ivy, that's not cute. Keep it cute.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, Lord, forgive me, because that wasn't of you for me to behave or react in that such manner.
Yeah.
So I give myself grace. And yeah, that's all I'll say.
Yeah. For me, I feel like when I compare, thankfully, I don't compare in a negative way a lot. But what I compare is almost like, okay, I admire this about this person and I strive to do better. And because I'm always like, my purpose in my spiritual walk is servanthood. And I'm always like, how can I serve more? So when I see other people serving and I'm just like, man, maybe you can do that. And it literally drives me to serve more, like to the point, like I can wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm sorry for all the people I'll be sending y'all emails, but you know, I just get up and I'm just like ready to work and to do certain things. And then sometimes people ask me, yo, how do you get all this stuff done? And I'm like, it's just the grace of God, because God knows that my hunger to serve Him is so much that when I think something, I have to get it on paper. Like I have to do it like right then and then. And this is why, back to relationships, okay? This is why God gave me the husband that He gave me, because he knew that I needed somebody who was understanding, somebody that would let me stand on my own and take on some of the load when needed. Because when my drivers, I've called you before when I have an idea, and I'm just like, and I'm like, yo, this is the idea, and I just gotta vomit it out. And then not only just vomit it out in words, but it's like, okay, what is the next action? We need to do this, and this, because that's just how my brain works.
Honestly, that's how this started.
This is literally, that's how this started. Because it was literally just like, God gave me something in my spirit, and I was like, okay, what is the action for this? And the action for this platform is to impart on the teenagers, on you guys, because you guys are our future. And not just our future, but you know, future generations are all going to take from the things that we all do. So I think it just gives me motivation to strive and do better, and also to learn, because a lot of times we don't need to keep reinventing the wheel. So if I know that, you know, 100 people tried it this way and it didn't work, do I really need to try it that way? You know? So
that's a good question. But you were saying something that made me think, like how you're like, okay, your relationship with God, you know, you strive to serve Him better. So an aspect of your, I guess, relationship with people, do you feel like that can come off as competing a little bit?
For me, competing a little bit, because striving to do better with what? With God?
So right. So I'm comparing, I'm taking the context of like, okay, how do we compare our relationship with God with people? So I'm talking about an aspect of the people perspective. So let's say you see something in me, you're like, ooh, I like that attribute, I admire it. So you're striving to, I guess,
emulate that.
Could that be competing? Like,
no, because for real, I ain't watching you.
Okay, period.
So it's like, I'm not watching you as the person. I'm watching the act, right? And I'm not like, oh, Sister Ivy goes to church, she goes to 5 Bible studies. And I think, oh, that is an example.
I know,
but it doesn't mean that I want to go to 5 Bible studies. I may not, in fact, I don't have the capacity because my time is just crazy. I don't have the capacity to do it, but I'm like, I don't see it as I need to go to 5 Bible studies. I see it as in I need to get into my word more. So I'm not looking at you going to 5 Bible studies and, oh, I need to go to 6. No.
But the act of it is motivating.
The act of it of you studying the Bible is motivating me, because I'm just like, you know, all the times that I was doing scrolling on social media and talking to this person and this person, I could be doing this instead. That would serve me better. So I look at it in a more of a selfish aspect, but in a positive selfish, as in I'm not looking at you, but I'm looking at what I can gain from your actions.
And I think maybe the perfect example to answer your question, Father Ivy, would be when we started, I talked about how I admired her going to church. I don't compete with her. I don't want to do the things that she does, but I got closer to God. Right. I go to church. I don't serve in the capacity that she does. I'm not sending nobody an email at 3 a.m. I'm going to be asleep. I love my sleep. But I've cultivated and fostered and nurtured my relationship with God as a result of just saying, oh, you know, and we come from a family of doers, you know, so how can, if I'm going to work and I'm doing to please my boss, then I must please the ultimate one, right? So that's an example.
But do you see how I was like when I was thinking about see how somebody can start competing?
Some people could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess that's
But
just
stop watching people. Listen.
that part.
When you go to the pearly gates, they're not gonna say who were you watching, and because you know you can go commit something that you weren't supposed to be doing, right?
Mhm.
And then you get there to the pearly gates, and you're like, God is like, oh, but why did you do this? Oh,
Yeah.
because
That's such and such
I
did
did it.
I'm talking to you.
Did you check
Yeah.
her? Because I did it because she did.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You going by yourself.
Yep. That part.
Even relationship wise, you're in a relationship and you and your partner are on two different levels spiritually.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about spiritually, you're on two different levels spiritually. It doesn't mean that although my husband and I are very much one, it doesn't mean that my salvation is his salvation.
No. Yep.
We all have our own salvation.
Mhm.
So just recognizing that is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really important. Like even with my kids going to school now, but with the kids, my children have very opposite personalities, and one will study for hours and she'll get an A. The other one will just bounce. Okay, she'll put in. I don't want to say zero effort because you know I don't want to dog her, but she won't put in as much effort, and she'll get an A. And they'll both get a congratulations, but their journey to get there was completely different.
Yeah.
And sometimes you catch yourself saying, "Well, why don't you study like your sister? Why don't you do this like your brother?" But then realistically, they're two different people.
Yeah.
And if you look at the end results, they got the A.
Yep.
But they didn't need to do what the other person was
Yeah.
doing in order to
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
And we already know school's not for everybody.
Yeah.
So just because I don't thrive in math doesn't mean that I can't thrive in English
Yeah.
or whatever other insert
Yeah.
whatever subject.
Yeah.
So there are just so many ways as a teenager you can compare or be compared
Yeah.
that are not positive or helpful to you. So just recognizing what are some of the comparisons that you are partaking in, and then recognizing how you want to change it. So because there's a difference between knowing I'm comparing something and then thinking I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
So just actively changing that. So yeah.
Yeah. I love you guys.
I love you guys too.
That's good.
Yeah. So any final words for a teenager with comparison? Maybe they're being compared. How do they overcome it? 'Cause
They're being compared to somebody else.
They're being compared to somebody else. Like a parent.
Yes.
I'm sorry, parents. I'm a parent. I'm putting myself up there too. Saying, why don't you do this more like this person? Or this person is really good at this. Or why don't you be friends with this person so you can do this? And what would be your advice? A lot of
As a
That
non-parent,
means it's real.
I was going to go first.
yeah, I think the parents amongst us should talk.
Hey, it's only one.
Actually, that's crazy that you said that because I was actually talking to my older sister,
Yeah.
and she actually was expressing to me, and she was saying how she doesn't compare her two sons because when they did that to her, she knew how much it affected
Yes.
her. Exactly.
Yeah.
So she's like, I don't do that because they're two different, like you were saying about your
Yes.
children, they're two different people. They do two different things.
Yes.
So I can't say do this person's
Yeah.
way and they're completely opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my advice to the child would be, more so of I'm always asking questions. Ask questions, but it'll be more so of hear what your parents are saying, but then also try to take parts of the person they're comparing you to. And I don't know, that's hard because at the end of the day, it's like if that's not you, that's not you. But just take the attribute of who they're comparing you to,
The traits of
the
it,
trait of it, and just apply it to yourself and see, and just try to understand why they're comparing you to that individual. So that's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Just be open-minded to why. Granted, I understand it hurts, but just take yourself out of it and just be like, what does this person have that I don't, that I can mimic to an extent?
Okay.
So that you're making a face.
Say it.
Your feelings are valid.
Yes.
I hate it being compared.
Yeah.
I still hate being compared. I think can we disagree to? Can we
yes,
disagree
yes.
here?
Yes.
I think that if a situation forces you to have to pick traits of a person that you're being compared to. I don't think that's a good situation. That's my opinion. And I think it's also coming from a little bit of trauma of having been compared. So our
Yeah,
parents,
but this is your parent.
yes, our parents mean well.
Yeah.
But just because they mean well doesn't mean that things always turn out well.
That's true.
The beauty about it is someday you get to be an adult
Yes.
and you get to sit down like us and say, I'm not going to do that to my child.
Yes.
Yeah.
It will get better, and I just want to validate your feelings.
Period.
Thank you
Scratch
for
what I said.
validation.
Because honestly, even when I was saying, I was just like, it's hard. It's just like,
It's very hard because
It's
you don't
very
want to
hard.
bash parents.
Yeah, you know.
None of us have parents who have ill intentions.
Yeah.
They meant well.
They did.
And I
We-
think
yeah.
we've been impacted by it negatively, positively, and we want to do better. So if a child is in that situation and they just all of a sudden have a complex because brother played basketball and you're being asked to play basketball, but then they want to play the cello
Yeah.
because music is their talent. For all you know, you're gonna go on America's Got Talent someday and win millions
Yeah.
And kill
stuff.
it.
And
Yeah.
that's their talent because God has given each and every one of us our own abilities.
Yes.
We have to be able to say to that child, it is okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Because society has a way of emasculating people and just putting people down, and we don't want to do that. So
Yes.
if this is a platform where they come and they hear your feelings are valid, it's okay that you are a guy and you are a little bit sensitive than the normal guy, then let us be that place.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw it up to the parents.
Where they at? So I think I mentioned you do catch yourself as a parent. Transparent moment. You know, I will tell on myself. But you do catch yourself comparing. And sometimes, intentionally, I don't believe in comparing. However, there are situations where the first thoughts, because unfortunately, society is very big on comparing.
Yep.
So the first thought will be, well, why don't you do it like that? Because even me pointing out me having two very different children is comparing them,
Yeah.
right? But we don't look at it as a comparing, but I literally just compare them.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult as a parent, but it's having a conscious mind to recognize that I don't want them to feel less than.
Yes.
Or I don't want them to feel like whatever they're doing or whoever they are is not good enough because they're not doing it like X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And to speak from what you were saying, but with like a different twist is, sometimes, like I'll tell one of my kids, oh, can you look at your sister's room? Your sister's room is tidy and yours is not. That's comparing them.
Right.
However, it's not comparing you to say that it's something negative.
Right.
It's comparing you to say this is an example that I would like. So I want your room to look like this.
Right.
Because sometimes as a child, somebody may say something to you, but maybe if you're a visionary person, you may not see what they mean.
What they need.
But what I mean is the person that the other person's room that I'm telling you is clean. It's not perfect. If you look, there are things that I would personally go and I do all the time, and I'll go and I will clean up.
Yeah.
But when you open the door, the bed is made. When you open the door, there's nothing on the floor. Those are things that I want you to do.
Right.
And I will literally take, this is my younger and my older. I'll take the young one and I'll be like, you see your sister's room? It's messy, but it's not dirty. And I don't want to see things on the floor. I want to see your bed made. And the rest of the stuff, just like put it away. It doesn't have to be straight. It doesn't have to be this, this, and this. But these are the things that I expect from you. And it's a comparison type of thing. And then also, on the other hand, telling the younger one, okay, you know, your sister's very organized, and even though her room is more messy than you, she's more organized than you. So look at some of the traits that you can take and learn from. Not necessarily be that person, but learn from. Because a lot of times, even though Renelle naturally will put things on the floor and all those things, if you tell her to clean, her room will be 20 times cleaner than the room that you compared it to, because that should be extra. But but she just does it in her own way, in her own time. She's more of a procrastinator. So even though she will do it and do it excellent, she's not, her natural habitat is not to do that. So it's just recognizing as a parent, recognize what are some of the traits that need to be cultivated,
Yep.
and then think of ways that you can help them cultivate.
Yeah.
And then also recognize that if your child is not a visual person, and you tell them, look at this, to compare, and to give them like motivation, they might see it as a negative thing. Like, why you want my room to look exactly like that? I don't even have the same bed sheet. I don't even have the same chair. I don't even have the same blah, blah, blah. You always want me to look like this. So I think it's hard. Parenting sucks, honestly, but it's hard. So you as a parent, as you said about the feelings being valid for the teenager, parents, we're not judging you for comparing. I'm not judging you for comparing, but just recognizing that there are positive and negative comparisons.
Honestly, I feel like it really stems from knowing your child and studying
Yes.
your child as well.
Yeah.
So knowing that one child is this way and the other one's that way, and like what you're saying, okay, hey, I know you're not the neatest, but this is something I want you to do.
Yes.
You know, just speaking to them in a way where like, hey, this is where you're not strong in, but this is what can help you to be strong in your weak areas. Type of thing.
And what are some active, positive steps that they can do to get there,
Yes.
right? Because I feel like sometimes we throw things at people, but then we don't want to help them get there, and then we'll bash them later for not getting there. But I mean, you made it up. I
Right.
don't know what you're saying. So it's like, well, how do I do what you want me to do?
Yeah.
In a logical way that will fit into my own, capacity.
Yeah.
Because everybody learns things differently, and
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So comparison.
It's tough.
It's tough. It can be good, it can be bad.
Yeah. It happens to the best of us.
It happens to the best of us, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Any last words?
Any last words?
I have last word.
Go ahead.
Yes, have the last word.
Yes.
I just want to say that these two ladies are amazing, and like they honestly inspire me to be better.
Yes.
And like just hearing them speak sometimes, just like I want to be like them, So how you're saying is like you strive,
Motivation.
yeah.
Yep.
Like Sister Abby sent me a podcast to be a
Yes.
better person. I'm like, yo, Sister Abby's the GOAT. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Sister Mabel's a cool mom, so it's like
Aw.
I thrive to be have these similar traits that you guys have. So I'm comparing, but it's in
That's
in
like how it
moderation.
should comparison. Yes.
Feeling is definitely
Yes.
neutral.
Yeah.
Oh.
So thank you. Don't compare yourself to any of us, but you can strive. I always tell my kids, actually, I'm gonna add another thing. Strive to be better. I always say my goal is to do better than my parents, and my children should do better than me. So strive to do better. Glass ceiling doesn't exist. Okay, the sky is your limit. In
Yes.
fact, there is no limits. Be the best version of yourself and not the photocopy of somebody. I was listening to this pastor. I'm sorry, I know we closing, but things just been popping in my head. I was listening to this pastor who I just recently met, Pastor Chinolu, and she said, if you're trying to be me and you are fatter than me, then you can never be me.
Hey.
If you're trying to be me and you're taller than me, you can never be me. And it was just like all the different, if you're smarter than me, you could never be me. The point is, I am short, I am this, and I'm all that because I am me.
Right.
But you can never be me by being taller than me. You can't be me by being smarter than me. And so these are all just like, we are individuals. We have our own fingerprint for a reason. Don't try and be somebody else.
Even twins are not the same.
Even
Yep.
twins are not the same. So that I don't think I copied her thing, but I give you a summary. But yeah, whatever.
Sister Abby?
But yeah,
No, you guys have said it all.
yes,
Give yourselves grace.
Grace.
Because we're old and we're still figuring it out.
We're not
She
old.
old.
We're older.
careful.
Oh.
Thank you.
Older than ER.
Yeah.
We're not teenagers.
Yeah.
And we're still figuring it out. And your parents are still figuring it
Yes.
out. So don't bash them when they make mistakes.
Yeah.
We're all still figuring it out. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
This is great.
Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
watching. Thriving
See you next
Teen
time.
Tuesday. See you next Tuesday.
Comment, like, subscribe.
Hey.